Hey guys, welcome to episode 23 of the Dash Gamer Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Drew Agnew. What's going on, Drew?
Oh, not too much, Dash. Very excited to be on my first, proper episode of the Dash Gamer Podcast.
Yeah.
Been sort of looking forward to this all day, so...
Same here. Man, it's been exciting. It's been it's been something that we've kind of gone back and forth about, myself, me and you. We've basically said that we've wanted to work together for a little bit, and now we're kind of getting that opportunity to sit down, talk video games every 6 weeks. It's a long time in between, but hey, it's good to kind of you spread your wings a little bit. You're prominent. You're very prominent within Nintendo news, but this will help you get into more the PlayStation and Xbox and PC side of things as well. So I'm very, very happy to have you on board to be a regular and talk about all this stuff, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no worries. And it works out really well because, I do find myself wanting to talk about the other two consoles rather than just Nintendo Switch. And this sort of schedule of things works out quite well every 6 weeks. And I was thinking just before, it's the same schedule as I get haircuts. I get my haircut every 6 weeks. So
fantastic. If
I can sync that up with the Dash Gamer Podcast and I can look nice and smick on the camera here while I'm doing it, that'll work out quite well.
You look nice and fresh every episode.
That's right.
Guys, if you didn't know, this is the Fresh Haircut Podcast. It's our bi-weekly gaming podcast where I come together with the boys and talk about all the latest in the world of video gaming. Don't forget to follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. It surely helps us out. Drew, do you have any housekeeping for us?
Oh, I guess housekeeping. If no one's heard of me before, I'm Drew Agnew. I run a podcast called The House of Mario. It's a South Australian Nintendo podcast, and I co-host it with my best mate, Bryce DeWitt.
Yeah.
Where we come at you every Tuesday and talk about the latest Nintendo news, the most recent going on in the Nintendo community. And we generally just have a lot of fun with it. I'm pretty bad at sort of plugging myself, so I think I'll just leave it there. But we're also celebrating the House of... we're also celebrating 25 years of the Pokemon series. It's Pokemon's meant a lot to us over the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. So we're celebrating that with 3 episodes a week over on the House of Mario Encore, which is sort of like a secondary podcast to the main show.
Yep.
Where we sort of just talk about random topics or anything like that. So it's been a lot of fun doing that over February, and we're still going into March. So there's plenty of content if you're into the Weeby Monster Catching series.
The Weeby Monster Catching series. The Pocket Weebs. So make sure you guys check that out over at thehouseofmario.com. It's also available on all good podcasting platforms. Give the guys a 5-star rating as well and give them a review. It helps everybody out as well. So please do. Great Nintendo show. Probably the best Nintendo show I've ever listened to. So make sure you guys check that one out. For dashgamer.com, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So beginning from the start, by the time this podcast goes live, Bravely Default 2 review, thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo Australia, who provided a review code. We're going to be talking a little bit about that later on in the show. Taxi Chaos review is up and live right now. I recommend you guys go read that one. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 review, thanks to the kind folk over at 5-Star Games, that is live right now. Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, and Earwig, and The Witch, thanks to the kind folk over at Man, who actually provided passes to go see those in cinema. I had a fun time watching those. That's great. Operation PlayStation episode 29 with myself and Padge is up right now. Latest in the world of PlayStation. We're going to talk a little bit about PlayStation here as well today. 2 opinion pieces will be live as this goes up. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake set in an alternate reality? And 5 PlayStation games we want on PC. So that's pretty much the housekeeping for the week. It's been a big, big week in gaming, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. So, Drew, let's not waste any time and let's jump into the news. All right, Drew. First bit of news comes by way of James Berwick over at Press Start. Push Square. I was almost going to say Push Square. At Press Start, who says, everything announced at the February Pokemon Direct. The Pokémon Company overnight, this was written a few days ago, so the Pokémon Company have overnight announced several new updates to the latest Pokémon projects in the works to celebrate the franchise's anniversary. Now, the Direct wasn't too long. It was about 20 minutes, I believe. But from what they announced, there was a lot to announce. So, and it was quite an interesting show. I'll put it this way: it was a polarizing show for many. But what they did announce was quite interesting. So, called Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the games feature a new cutesy art direction. They're both heading to Nintendo Switch. So these are remakes for both Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. They're getting remakes for Nintendo Switch. What are your... Like, I got to ask you, because you're obviously the fanboy here, so what are your thoughts on the remakes?
Yeah, so I actually recorded a reacts, which I didn't end up uploading in the end. Mainly because of these games. I was going into this excited. I didn't have any expectations or sort of, anything set like that. I had some hopes, and Diamond and Pearl remakes were definitely among those, and... There were rumors coming out that it was going to be a chibi art style, and there was sort of discussions whether that's going to lead to a let's go catching mechanic where you're actually using motion controls, much like you do in, say, Pokemon Go or something, where you're throwing the ball trying to get it at the smallest circle as possible to get the best chance to catch the Pokemon. So there were sort of there was that up in the air before going into this. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then when the games were announced, it comes up on the screen, and I quite liked the chibi art style. I'm like, it's something different. The rumors were right. Cool. It's a big sort of change for what remakes are typically for the Pokemon series. Typically looking back at, say, Fire Red Leaf Green or Heart Gold Soul Silver, those games are bringing older games, bringing them into a new generation where they're redoing the mechanics and the graphics. Like the graphics they're nice, but the thing most Pokemon fans are excited about is bringing old games, old regions that we know and love really well from our childhood and bring it into like a new sort of generation. Like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, that introduced so many things to the Johto region just because you didn't have abilities, you didn't have sort of like hold items and that type of thing in those original games. So they were able to be fleshed out a lot more. But with these new games, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they are literally just like tile for tile remakes in a brand new 3D sort of art style in the chibi form. And
look, it's great. Look, don't get me wrong. This plays into the fandom. It's fan service, and that's great. Personally, I could give a stuff at what it looks like as long as it plays great. A lot of people are making the argument, why this chibi art style and all that? It's tradition, kind of. It's like kind of traditional. I mean, you play the originals on Game Boy or DS. Their character arts are basically chibi themselves. Like, there is nothing wrong with what they're doing. So I'm not too sure why people are critical right now. I can understand that, they probably wanted something above and beyond, which is kind of what we're going to get into next here anyway. So continuing on with Press Start's covering story on the Direct. A brand new open world prequel game was announced too. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Is that how you pronounce it?
I say Arceus.
Yeah.
I think there's a few different pronunciations going around, but that's personally what I say.
Yeah, Arceus. Okay, cool. So it's called Pokemon Legends Arceus, or what? Arceus. Dr. Sayers. And is released...
that one.
It'll be released in early 2022. The game features an art style similar to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and takes Pokemon to an open world like never seen before. Okay. There is the big hit on it. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is what it's been compared to right now. What are your... I have to ask, what are your thoughts on that? Okay,
so really excited. This is the type of thing most Pokemon fans have been looking for a long time. And even though there is personally for me, there is the disappointment that like the Diamond and Pearl remakes are what they are. But it is sort of the offshoot of what has to happen to make games like this made by Game Freak. They off-sourced the Diamond and Pearl remakes to another company called is it iSeller?
That's correct.
Who make the Pokemon Home application on Switch and mobile.
Yeah.
So they've handed that off to them, and it's been produced by Junichi Masuda, who produced the original Diamond and Pearl and many other generations of Pokemon. So, that's in relatively good hands, but it's freed up Game Freak to do something completely different to what they've been doing. And there's been a lot of criticism with Sword and Shield. Yeah. Even though I personally love it, it is pretty derivative of what's come in the past.
Yeah.
And I dare say everyone's seen it if you're going down your Twitter timeline, and there's always someone who's like, oh, I wish there was a open world Pokemon game. They got a screenshot of Breath of the Wild, and they got like a Snorlax in the background, and a Pokemon trainer as the main character. And I feel like Game Freak, they really did take that sort of feedback and maybe even criticism to heart. And I could just imagine them at a board meeting say, hey, we are passionate about this. We do want to push this forward. This is what people want to see. And regardless of what the product turns out like, they are definitely aiming for that. And just like how much of a sort of change up it is, not just for the open world, but also for like getting rid of gyms and getting rid of a lot of traditional battle mechanics. Yeah. You can still sort of select your moves in that, but it seems to be a more sort of action-based battle system, which hasn't been in a traditional mainline Pokemon game before. So, yeah, man, really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see more.
I lost you for a second. you went completely off kilter there. But anyway, look, I'll probably still have the audio of you. Look, here's how I feel. I think once again we're at fan service levels of actually delivering stuff. I believe that Breath of the Wild has had a major impact in the way that Pokemon have had some gaming development and everything kind of presented within this. It's obvious that that's what they were going for. And you're right, they were kind of playing in favor to a lot of fandom that were like, man, I really wish we had a Pokemon Breath of the Wild game. I think it would be fantastic. Sure, okay, but part of me is kind of concerned as well, because Breath of the Wild is, to me, very much like almost a once-in-a-generation kind of title. If you try and copy paste its formula, its framework, and essentially create it into something that's not Breath of the Wild, but something else that's also, one, a Nintendo property, and two, plays nothing like Breath of the Wild, people are going to be upset. People are going to turn around and be like, this is kind of not what we wanted. We wanted Breath of the Wild plus Pokemon. It's like, kind of both.
True.
It's not Zelda. You're playing an adventure game that's basically Pokemon in an open field. Like, that's it. So what concerns me a little bit is how it might play into that No Man's Sky effect, where it looks good on paper, it looks great in a trailer, but when you play it, you might get bored.
I guess the thing is, like, a lot of people are comparing it to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Naturally so. It's another Nintendo IP. It's a lot of Nintendo fans' favorite game over the last 4 years. So that makes a lot of sense. But I feel like if I'm sitting there trying to compare this game to what Breath of the Wild is, that there's a pretty high chance we're going to be disappointed, because Breath of the Wild is a phenomenal game.
Oh,
it might even come out around the same time Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. Like, we don't know when that game is set to launch, but I'll probably think about it more closely to something like Dragon Quest XI or probably Monster Hunter being like the action RPG.
Yeah.
That's something more I'll compare it to. But I was talking to Bryce. I'm like, well, even if it comes out and the reviews are like, it's a 6 out of 10, Game Freak kind of missed the boat on this. Even if it's like, go out into a world and just explore it, catch Pokemon, that'll be enough to be like, this is a fun time for me. So if they build upon that with like lore and story based around the village, because like the idea is that it's the settlement of Sinnoh. So Sinnoh is the region that was originated in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl.
Yep.
And this story sets is based years before then, when settlers are just moving in, they form a village, and then they're going out to explore the region to make the first Pokedex there at Sinnoh. So just like from a lore point of view, I think it's going to be pretty exciting just from a nerdy Pokemon perspective.
Do you have any concerns of performance though? Because from the trailer, that's personally another thing that I'm really, really concerned about. It chugged on the trailer. Just the trailer. Well, look, we're 18 months. We're about 12 to 18 months away from it.
Yeah.
However, if history dictates anything, it's that no matter how far away we are, these trailers primarily always deliver what's in the final product. So are you concerned?
I am a little bit because in the trailer you can see, especially some Pokemon, they are running at like 1 frame a second. They are just like just moving just without any animation almost.
Yeah.
So you can definitely see like draw distances and Pokemon frame rate and stuff like that, which is like, oh, I hope this improves beforehand.
Yeah.
I was sort of interested. I went back and had a look at Pokemon Sword and Shield when that was announced, and like there's like some small polish on top of what they've shown, but not too much. But also it's a different sort of era and development scene that's this game's been developed in. Like we don't know how much COVID affected Game Freak and all that. And another question I really want to know is now that like the last couple of years, Game Freak have moved into the Nintendo building in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like curious to know, like, do they have any other development teams helping out, similar to what Monolith Soft did for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? If they've got like some of that talent helping with some of the more technical stuff for the open world, because it just seems like such a big jump from Sword and Shield or Let's Go to an open world Pokemon game. It just, it seems a bit, honestly, it seems a little bit too good to be true. But from what they've shown in the concepts of what they're trying to make, I think we have a lot of reasons to be excited for 2020.
Skimming through the rest of the article here, Drew, the next one was basically we had a better look at the new Pokemon Snap game.
Hell yeah.
It looks good, don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'm ready for a Pokemon Snap game, though. Like, it's one of those things where I think it's going to be...
20 years hasn't been long enough?
No, well... everybody loves Pokemon Snap. I don't know. I don't think I'm part of that audience that really appreciates it. I think, once again, this is a lot of what's happening here is, hey, let's bring back a lot of stuff, but let's also copy a lot of formulas. So for me, there's nothing original that's happening right now within the Pokemon IP, or nothing that's drawing me to go, okay, this is new. This is brand new. Like even the Pokemon Arceus, whatever you want to call it, Arceus hasn't really kind of got me. Like there's no hook to it just yet. At least I have to wait a little bit. But Pokemon Snap even is just a little bit like, all right, Pokemon Snap. Everybody's happy. Yay, it's Pokemon Snap. So,
hell yeah, everyone's happy. I need a happy goddamn game in my life.
We're reminded of the Gigantamax Pikachu Max Raid battles in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So that was actually cool. I like that actually in Pokemon Sword and Shield. The Pokemon Cafe Mix is rewarding extra acorns just for logging in. Drew, you logging in?
I probably will. I think it's over now by the time this podcast goes up, but I honestly haven't played Pokemon Cafe. I've downloaded it on my phone, on my Switch. I'm just like, I never got an opportunity to open it.
Really?
Other than, well, no, I've got the opportunity to open it, but am I going to open Pokemon Cafe? Am I going to open Sword or Shield or Mario 3D World or Super Smash Brothers or something on my PlayStation? I'm not going to choose it over anything else.
I'm not going to argue with any of that because that's pretty fair argument. Pokemon Go is getting some legendary raid battles. I know that you are certainly excited for that.
Yeah, well, they had them for the week prior before the Kanto Tour event, which was a lot of fun. I went and played that for a day and when I had a few beers and walked around town.
Look at this guy walking around. What is he doing? He's playing Pokemon Go with beers in his hands. I'm
not breaking any dry zones though, so don't worry about that.
What an adult. Leon and Charizard are appearing in Pokemon Masters X. How do you feel about that? Yeah, nobody cares.
I don't care.
Nobody cares. That was pretty much the direct. It was about 20 minutes long. It was fine. It delivered on what a lot of Pokemon fans wanted in terms of just that one Breath of the Wild title was released. I believe that even for me, I was more excited for the Diamond and Pearl remake. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag. It's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah.
So actually, the next article is pretty much the same thing. So we're not going to do that one. The following article is going to talk about why people aren't too happy about it. So let's talk about why people aren't happy about it. This one comes by way of Shannon over at Pressed Up. People aren't too happy with the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake art style. So this is obviously what we've been talking about. Pokemon fans have had their dreams come true to life on Saturday morning when Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl remakes were announced in form of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl. The game will be releasing on Nintendo Switch later this year, following in the footsteps of the remake Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Everyone was surprised to see that ILCA, ILCA, the new developers, had gone with an art style more reminiscent of the original Nintendo DS game. The remakes favor a chibi art style rather than a more modern art style that's closer to the newer games. The contrast is perfectly laid out in the tweet below, and there's a picture of both the remake and I believe that's Pokemon Go below. Let's Go below.
Yeah, Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah, on the bottom
below.
screen there.
Yeah. It's weird because Pokemon Let's Go looks a little more detailed. Okay. Weird.
Yeah.
Shannon goes on, he says, I must admit, I personally don't mind the new art style, but when you compare it to Let's Go and how great that looked, I get why there's a little bit of pushback against the art style that is more of a one-to-one reaction of what we saw with the original game. I think the fact that the game was revealed alongside Pokemon Legends, Arceus, or whatever you want to call it, also provides even more of a comparison of the two art styles. Yeah, again, look, there's a lot of comparisons being drawn here. Obviously, what they did was they took basically the original art from the original game and remade it into a rendered 3D models. I am okay. It's a remake. That is the point. The remakes are supposed to do that. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't understand the criticism that is being drawn here. There is go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
The thing would sort of disappointed me, like first see Dawn in a little chibi form, I'm like, okay, that's cute. But then obviously the footage keeps coming and we get to the battle scenes, and the battle scenes where I went, oh, like the battle scenes looked pretty rough and just like, I don't know what it was about sort of the characters, but they just looked a bit student project is what comes to my mind when I first thought of it. I'm like, oh, like I watched back my react, which I never posted because of this. I was just like, what the hell? And because in Sword and Shield, there's a few graphical issues with some things in there, but the models and the models of the trainers and the Pokemon, they are definitely not that problem. They look really nice. They're nice and crisp, colorful, vibrant. They got nice outlines and all of that. So they look nice and crisp, and they look fantastic in my opinion. But sort of these battles just looked pretty ordinary. And in this article that you linked, a lot of people are being like putting outlines around the 3D models, and it does actually help a fair bit. I actually prefer the look of it a fair bit when they put the black outlines around the characters. What do you think about that, seeing these comparisons?
Yes, it does define them a little more. I think it does look a little better, but again, it's one of those things where I don't think it will translate that well on a Nintendo Switch screen. I fear it. Seriously, I do fear it sometimes when they do these kind of things, because a good example, and I hate to draw this example, is Persona 5 Strikers at the moment that's out. They do have some characters with black outlines on them, but you can definitely... They try to define it, but it's jaggy as hell. So it just kind of comes... Even like I'm not just pointing finger to the Nintendo Switch version. The PS4 version has it as well in comparison to the PC version.
Right.
The PC version looks clean. But it's just one of those things where black lines on console right now, for Nintendo Switch especially, it just doesn't work. So having it bare, I think, would help it a little more, because they're also trying to define it as, this is a remake. We want people to know that this is a remake. These are the models. Fair enough that it looks like this kind of different art style here, but we don't want it to look traditional. We don't want to look traditional Pokemon. We want it to have a difference. We want that disparity. But at the same time, I do concede to what you're saying. It's one of those things where it's so divided and polarizing right now between the Pokemon community that I don't know whether, even if they were to deliver a defining character, like defining their characters, their models, is going to make people happy. Like this is one of the things right now within the Pokemon community that annoys me, is that nobody's happy with what they're given.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I feel a bit bad for that too, because after the announcements, I was jumping around a couple of Discords and that, having a few chats with different communities and stuff. And for the most part, a lot of people were like, yes, this looks awesome. And I felt pretty bad being like, oh, why am I the negative one here? I felt kind of bad. But, after a couple of, after thinking about it for a bit, it's not exactly 100% what I would want from these games, but they're going to be fun. I'm going to buy them. And I dare say I'll get, tens and tens of hours out of playing them. So
I'm not surprised.
Worried about it.
I'm not surprised they didn't buy them at all.
You're just like, what? I'm going to buy these goddamn Pokemon games?
Drew, the next one comes from Shannon over at Press Start, who says, Melbourne man got pulled over for playing Pokemon on 2 phones whilst driving. Pokemon Go has been out for years now, but the stories keep coming. A 44-year-old man was caught driving in Heidelberg over the weekend, allegedly driving whilst playing Pokemon Go on not just one phone, but 2 phones. The driver was somehow playing Pokemon Go using both hands while somehow maintaining control of his car. He got stung with a $496 fine and a loss of 4 demerit points. So hopefully he managed to catch that legendary Pokemon.
Not a fine per phone.
No, definitely not. This is please people, do not do this kind of crap. I know that Pokemon Go is a lot of fun to play, but the madness is just not worth risking somebody else's life, that's for sure. No. We'll move on quickly from that one. This one comes by way. This one now we're moving into PlayStation news. This one comes by way of James Berwick over at Press Start, who says everything announced at the February State of Play. Now, before I begin this one, there was a little bit of a trend here this week. I noticed that we had the Direct, we had a State of Play. And then Final Fantasy, Square Enix themselves kind of just dumped all this Final Fantasy news on us. I feel almost like we had kind of a mini E3 showcase this week without Xbox present at all. But the problem that the conversation that came up this week was, did we even need a Direct? Did we even need a State of Play? The quality of both shows were kind of they could have been in an email. Before I jump in, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the State of Play, looking at the list of things that were announced, it was a lot of things that was pretty underwhelming and stuff that was also already known to us as well. We already knew that A Crash 4 was getting re-released on next-gen consoles and even Switch. So we knew that, and Final Fantasy was pretty much one of the biggest surprises, but that's also just a next-gen sort of free upgrade as well. So it's nothing super exciting. As for Nintendo, I think there was a couple of pretty decent announcements that I feel did deserve a Direct. If you're looking at Splatoon 3, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Mario Golf, I think those alone from Nintendo were worth some type of showcase. Whether it was worth a 50-minute showcase, maybe they could have cut some 20 minutes.
I reckon it would have been better at 30 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a long Direct, and at the end of the day, it was a lot of third-party stuff. So the excitement wasn't there compared to if there was Zelda, Mario, all this stuff in just one Direct. So I think that's where a lot of the disappointment come from. That particular Direct, but
I didn't list the Direct, the proper Direct here, because I believe that's kind of it's older news now. But quickly, what are your thoughts on them re-releasing Skyward Sword for Switch at obviously full price?
I think them re-releasing it at full price is kind of expected from Nintendo. I think if you want to compare it to if you want to compare it to say the Halo collection, Master Chief collection, it's oh my god, you can see where the value is, and it's not in Skyward Sword. But Skyward Sword for me, I'm I don't know if I can replay this. No. This is it's a bit too much of a slog. It's got great lore, it's got great music. It's got a great story, but they just prolong it a bit too long. It's a bit too long a game. I think it's filler.
I think it's the worst of the Zelda 3D titles. I I remember I reviewed it for MMGN or mywii.com.au when it was called that back way when in 2011. And I gave it a 6. All these websites were giving it 10s, and I was like, this is not a 10 out of 10 Zelda game. This is now becoming to points of embellishment where people are being a little overzealous with how they're perceiving the positivity out of this game. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
The story was fine. I love the antagonist. I love the boss in the game. He was different from Ganon.
Girahim was really quirky and weird.
Yeah, different from Ganon. So it was like that. This is new, and I like that. But then you go back. Then you kind of like go from Skyward Sword to a Breath of the Wild, and you see the contrast there, and it's just like this is worlds apart. Yeah. So anyway, jumping back to the state of play here. Once again, the title is Everything Announced at the February State of Play by James Berwick over at Press Start, who says, Sony have a few nice announcements at the State of Play this morning, though nothing groundbreaking, so let's get into it. So yeah, once again, you touched on it. The Crash Bandicoot is getting a PS5 upscaled, which is pretty cool. It'll make use of, obviously, the haptic feedbacks and the adaptive triggers on each of the DualSense controllers. Cool. We got a better look at Returnal and its entrancing world. I am not excited yet for this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not excited just yet either, but it's I guess it is like a PlayStation Studios second party game, so that's why I'm interested. And I really do enjoy Housemarque too. I loved Stardust Delta on the PS Vita, and I followed them a lot through that sort of generation on the handheld and the PS3. So I am interested just to support them.
Yeah.
But it is like a full price game as well, and I don't know if America's $70 is going to translate to $125 here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it's been pre-ordered for, but. Like, there's no one hell I'm paying that much for it, so it's definitely a title I'm going to be waiting for to go down in price. Yeah.
I'll definitely say I'll probably be reviewing it, so we'll see what happens there. But it's one of those titles I'm definitely iffy on at the moment. One that did surprise me, we'll talk about in a second. But before we do, Valen Studios showed us some PlayStation footage of Knockout City.
They showed this. They showed this in the direct like the week before as well, and the only thing that caught my eye is Valiant Studios. They're the same team that created Mario Kart Live as well.
Correct.
That's just what caught my eye. I'm like, oh, cool. Doing something else.
This is the game that caught my eye. Sifu. Absolver developer Slowcap showed off their new brawler Sifu. It features a super stylized look and is releasing for PlayStation 4 and PS5 in 2021. What do you think about this one?
I didn't actually catch this one in the roundup. I didn't actually watch through the actual event. I just sort of watched it all afterwards. But no, I didn't actually catch up on this one. So
it was
I've
interesting.
Got nothing to say, sorry.
Yeah, there was no narrative towards it. It was trying to tell a story more through its footage than anything. It basically follows what looks to be a kung fu master from his young age as he ages. Basically, what you do is you learn kung fu throughout the game. And the trailer begins, it's up on the screen right now. You're in a hallway and you got gangs surrounding you, but you kind of go, have you ever seen the film Ip Man?
No, I haven't. I am just watching through the trailer now. It's got a really nice art style.
It really does. It really has kind of like that indie look to it, which is really cool. I do love the art style, but I really love the way that they're going with the gameplay here and what kind of progressive narrative they're telling through the gameplay more than anything. There's no words being said. There's nothing being told to us. It's just telling us words through pictures, which is really cool. I like that. And obviously you age throughout the game, so there is definitely heavy lore within this. I'm certainly excited to actually play this one. So can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see what it's about. There's no release date or anything just yet, so we'll see what happens when it does come out. Moving on from that one, Solar Ash is shaping up to be a great surreal platformer. It's the second game from the Hyperlight Drifter developer, and it was first announced in June last year. This one looks really cool. Solar Ash has been on my watch list for a little while, but the Hyperlight Drifter was a little bit of a game for me. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I actually really loved Hyperlight Drifter. I didn't finish it or anything, but I loved just sort of exploring the world and sort of the way they went about storytelling, just like leaving it up to interpretation and all. I thought that was really cool. But this game caught my eye when they revealed the PS5 because I thought like the first like few seconds it was going to be like another Gravity Rush game from Japan Studio. I'm like, oh my god! Oh no, it's not. But it still looks cool, so I'm still interested.
Art style's nice. That's the thing. Like, I'm always enticed by really, really great aesthetic, and this has an abundance of aesthetic applied to it, and it looks just gorgeous. That's essentially what I really like about it. I really kind of make comparisons with the Pathless to it as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the way it's forcibly expeditious, so it's very fast in terms of its gameplay, very rapid, and the way it kind of you have, like, just as it showed, those kind of like those grapple hooks in the game, and you're climbing up walls and everything, very much like how in the Pathless you have the bow and arrow that makes you kind of go faster in when you shoot them off there, and you kind of just speed, you get those turbo boosts through the grass. It's really, really cool. So this is definitely on my watch list. I'm very excited to play it when it does
this is
make
up
its
top
way
of my
out.
list.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, it'll definitely. I think it makes its way out. Yeah, later this year. So definitely excited for that. Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, look, I believe that this IP is done to death. Not excited for it. So I don't really care. Your thoughts? Nah.
Nah, I couldn't care less. No.
This is one that I hate. Look, I've stated it so many times. Fuck Lorne Lanning. I don't like him. So I could give a shit. But this was announced as a free game in April for PlayStation Plus. Makes me happy. You know why? Because I don't have to give any money to him. Yeah. Well, look, it's cool for owners of PlayStation 5 and subscribers to PlayStation Plus who get to actually play Oddworld Soulstorm, because I know that there are so many people excited for the title. Cool. I personally think that Oddworld is an overhyped piece of crap, but it's more power to people who like that shit.
It's never really grabbed my attention, but obviously being a PS Plus game,
it's free.
Pretty easy download, so I'll give it a go. Sure.
This one I'm excited for, Kender Bridges Spirits. They've actually announced today that it's not a full price game, which is really cool. So they've actually made a headway and said, look, set your expectations at a $40 game. The game though looks incredible, so I'm very excited. What are your quick thoughts on this one?
I mean, just right up my alley. I remember when it first got announced, it was by the animation team that made like a Majora's Mask sort of animated movie. It's like, oh well, that's where sort of a lot of the sort of atmosphere and that comes from, just because they're so good at doing this type of art style. And I think it's their first game that they've made. I think. I'm not like an expert on this developer or anything, but yeah, this game is like a definitely a must buy for me. Yeah, just being, especially at the cheaper price point that they announced.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be one. Deathloop got another trailer. Okay, it's taking its time. Fair enough. I'm still surprised that it's coming to PlayStation, given that Bethesda been bought out, but it is what it is. And then we jump
Sony handed over their money.
Well, yeah, they've still got a license that they owe Sony to like release the certain games. So it'll definitely be interesting once titles start becoming exclusive to Xbox from Bethesda. So I definitely think that Xbox is going to start having a stronghold on some mighty strong Bethesda IPs like Elder Scrolls and everything else that'll just come, like Wolfenstein, Doom. Those kind of titles that I do not see PlayStation getting a hold of for at least a year. Pretty much like the example that I'm about to talk about now, Final Fantasy VII Remake. But this is the funny thing. So I'm going to talk about the piece of news, and I'll go into the funny thing about this. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is the next-gen upgrade of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The game features improved visuals and quality of life improvements for the PlayStation 5. It's a free upgrade for people who own the original and feature a brand new chapter featuring Yuffie. So there's DLC, new chapter featuring Yuffie from the original game. For people who are downloading it right now for free from PlayStation Plus, you don't actually get the upgrade for free. You do have to have the purchased version digitally or own the physical copy to get the upgrade. But here's the funny thing about all this. So Final Fantasy VII Remake has been an exclusive to PlayStation for a year now. So, like, it released last April, April 10th, and will have its exclusivity run out with PlayStation on April 10th. It's funny to see now that all this stuff is being announced exclusively for PlayStation, like upgrades and visuals, this DLC and everything. Do you think that we're going to see Final Fantasy VII Remake Vanilla make its way to Xbox, Switch, PC after its exclusivity of its vanilla version runs up? Do you think we're going to be seeing that, and then like all this content's going to stay exclusive to PlayStation?
It very well could. First of all, it's definitely not coming to Switch.
Well, Switch Cloud.
Yes, no, I don't know.
You don't think so?
Well, not in Australia. We don't get cloud. We don't have good enough internet.
True.
So it doesn't matter regardless. But
good point.
I always thought that it was going to be coming after a year. Just, that's just the general thing I think people assumed.
Yeah.
So whether they're sort of going hard in this, what are they called? Not PlayStation Direct. PlayStation State of Play. Yep. They State of Play. I don't know if they're going hard just so they get that month of just a window just to himself, and then like Xbox One, Xbox Series versions come out around then. Not too sure, but I probably say like the DLC would say exclusive, because if they're putting this much effort into it, it's a lot of effort to go just for like 1 month, being like, yeah, cool, we got some versions for a month, but you're going to forget about them very soon, even though you can't buy a console in March anyway, because we're not supplying it. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I think it's going to be one of those things. Look, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's like I gave a Game of the Year last year for dashgamer.com. It really, there's something about it that's really kind of striking different in terms of like, because you had games like The Last of Us Part 2. You got to remember that was a 2020 title as well. But there's an appreciation towards the lore that is happening within this remake that lingers. It lingers. It sticks with you. Whereas The Last of Us Part 2, I believe, kind of was, I wouldn't say hit and miss. It was a hit, but once it was done and it was over. The Last of Us Part 1 hit in a different way. Whereas The Last of Us Part 2 kind of had that closure, but it wasn't closure that made you think, oh man, that's going to stick with me for a long time. Because it really doesn't. So with Final Fantasy VII Remake, there is no closure, and it does linger. And there is, I can't say anymore because it's too spoilery, but there is a major cliffhanger to the story that suggests its follow-up is going to be even bigger. And I don't want to say any more than that because, definitely get into spoiler territory. But the game is amazing. And once again, Game of the Year worthy contender. Contender for many platforms, and one Game of the Year for Dash Gamer. But it's free now for PlayStation Plus subscribers. That is insane.
That's wicked,
kudos to PlayStation for that coup. That is amazing.
Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow all Dash Gamer podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, Drew, the next one comes by way of Sammy Parker over at Push Square, who says Sony to unlock storage extension this summer. So this is a big bit of news that people have just been like begging for. Rumi, he says, you may be forgiven for forgetting, but the PlayStation 5 has a slot for you to insert an additional SSD storage device. It's been blocked from use since its launch. This is because the platform holder is taking additional time to whitelist certain drives. The company wants to ensure that you purchase an SSD fast enough to run next-gen games. It always said that it unlocked this functionality eventually, and a new Bloomberg report confirms that it's coming this summer. What this means is that you'll be able to purchase a compatible SSD, install it to your console, and increase the amount of space you have available for native PS5 games. It's worth noting that these drives are unlikely to be cheap. Okay, so that's basically where I'm going to stop it, because what I wanted to bring up was this. So WD have I want to say a specifically designed model of their SSD drives called the WD Black drives. And I was looking at the price tags of these things last night. A 1 terabyte WD Black is $600.
Ooh.
Why would I buy a 1 terabyte drive for $600 when I can just buy another PlayStation 5? That is
literally
just abhorrent in terms of pricing. So this is a problem that I'm finding now, is that they're going to license these products. Sony have a reputation of licensing these expensive-ass hard drives when there are hard drives out there that are cheaper, made for PC, and don't have that tag, made for PlayStation on them, and they're half the cost. They did this with Seagate last generation. So what are your thoughts, Drew?
Well, that's just crazy. I didn't know that they'll bring them out and they're going to be that expensive because I bought both an Xbox Series X and a PlayStation 5, and to be honest, I spent way more time with my Xbox Series X because of this very issue. Yeah. Because Xbox, they do have the option to go and buy additional storage, and it's a really small, little convenient, almost like a little tiny game card that sort of goes into the back. And like for me, I've actually also got a Series S for the sort of office area here, and I'm able to just like pull it out, put it in, and it will just work instantly. There's no sort of waiting for it to reload or recalibrate for another system. It's super convenient just to move huge files like Call of Duty and other just massive open world games just from console to console. So it works really well. Yeah. And that was only like $360 or something like that. Like it's nowhere near the amount you're saying for the Seagate. So that's just nuts. Well, but on the PlayStation, on the PlayStation, like I barely like filled it up with games. I put like, Miles Morales and Sackboy and stuff like that on it, but I haven't, like when I'm looking at stuff like Hitman 3 or Immortals or anything like that, I'm like, well, I'm getting on Xbox because I've got way more room on the Xbox. And
the performance would be way better on Xbox than what it would be on Switch. Obviously, so your preferred platform is obviously going to be Nintendo, but for specific titles, you kind of sit there and you look at it and go, okay, I probably would get it for Xbox.
Oh yeah.
But that's also the polarizing, like that's the dividing factor too, because you could also get it for your PS5, but the fact is, without the space, what for? So
yeah, it's just like not as convenient a platform. Just at the end of the day, it's and that's sort of the things with a lot of things on the PS5. I just feel like there's a lot of things they sort of overlooked that Xbox actually ironed out really nicely on theirs. Like just picking it up and using the actual interface and that. It just seems to, personally for me, just works a lot better. And that's coming from someone who really liked the PlayStation 4 OS. I was more used to that. So yeah,
I wasn't a fan of. I'll admit the PlayStation 5 OS is. I'm a little divided on that as well. It looks like the PlayStation 4 OS, but it doesn't at the same time. They kind of the Appleification of it is basically looking like an Apple product more than a Sony product now. The tiles are smaller. You can't customize the theme anymore. For me, that's just the dashboard itself. The operating system itself runs identical. So. Yeah, I don't know. But not to kind of throw anything from, like, not to say, that's terrible pricing for only Sony. I will highlight the fact that Xbox Australia do have the expansion card for their slot right now on their website for $315. So it's actually, regular retail price is $349. It's down to $315 at the moment on special. Oh, special. Yep. But it's still expensive. That is a 1 terabyte card for $315. That is expensive as fuck.
Yeah. And we all knew this when we were going into next generation too, like with like the sort of promise of faster load speeds and all of that. We knew that this new technology wasn't going to come cheap and it was going to be the most priciest thing going into these new consoles. Yeah. And that's why we didn't get like 2 terabyte hard drives built into the actual machines. And that's why we're paying out our ass if we do want the luxury of getting more room, because at the end of the day, it is like a luxury. Having multiple games on your system without having to re-download them and stuff. Like you can make it work. Like you're not going to be playing 10 plus games at the same time, and you will be able to make it work. But for me, like I'm a fair bit of a hoarder when it comes to downloading stuff. I like Game Pass on Xbox. I'm like, oh, I want it all downloaded on Switch. I want as much of my purchases downloaded as possible. So that's just kind of who I am. But as Reggie once said back in the Wii days, you got to treat your Wii like a fridge. If you're not using it anymore, take it out of there. It's just going to go rotten. And if you got a nice jar of tomato sauce, you got to put that in there, keep it nice and fresh.
And if you don't have
keep
a
rotating stuff.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Drew, the next one comes from Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says Sony officially confirms reorganization of Japan studio. Now, this is languaged in a way that sounds like they aren't shutting down a studio. This essentially means that they're shutting down this studio. Sony has officially confirmed that it's, quote, reorganizing Japan studio effective the 1st of April. One of the oldest first-party teams within the platform holders stable will be restructured around Team Asobi, the developer of the recent Astro's Playroom, as well as Astrobot Rescue Mission and the Playroom VR. A statement shared with IGN explains, quote, in an effort to further strengthen business operations, Sony Interactive Entertainment can confirm PlayStation Studios Japan Studio will be reorganized into a new organization on 1st of April. Japan Studio will be recentered to Team Asobi, the creative team behind the games we just spoke about. More interestingly, the manufacturer has confirmed that any external production roles will be, quote, concentrated within the global functions of PlayStation Studios, end quote. In addition to internal projects, Japan Studio is perhaps best known for its collaborations like Bloodborne, which it made with From Software, and Everybody's Golf, which it made with Clap Hands. Yeah, so the real story behind this is that they're closing down Japan Studios, and they're basically pushing their employees to go work at Team Asobi, which, you know, they believe... The real story behind it is that they weren't profitable enough to continue running the studio. It's sad because I kind of was hoping... I was hoping that we'd see a lot more from Japan Studios, including a Gravity Rush 3, possibly on PlayStation 5. You know, with the adaptive triggers and haptic feedbacks of the controller, it would have been a lot more immersive, a lot more engaging to play. But unfortunately, we're probably not going to see that, at least under the original developer's vision. At least, at most, we'll never see it again. I'm hoping that we do, but yeah, it's kind of a sad situation to see that PlayStation kind of have culled one of their oldest studios. COVID. I don't know if COVID would be to blame for this. The financials, obviously.
I don't think so. Really.
Yeah, financials are the number one thing. Anyway, what are your thoughts here, Drew? Yeah,
this is really sad. Japan Studio is why I really did fall in love with the PlayStation brand, and especially now, I think what PlayStation Studios are doing is just really freaking phenomenal. Just the titles they're putting out. Like, I'm a big Naughty Dog fan. Love The Last of Us. Yep. Like Horizon Zero Dawn. Like all of it. I'm there as much as I can possibly fit it in. But Studio Japan, it was right up my alley, especially as like someone who's into like Japanese culture and Nintendo stuff. Like that was like a sort of like another branch of that. And I really did get captured with Gravity Rush, which was developed at Japan Studios. And we did get the news a couple of weeks ago that the director for Gravity Rush, Mr. Toyama, he actually left. So I think the idea of getting some of those franchises like Gravity Rush and that were sort of like almost 0% anyway, just with how Gravity Rush 2 performed on PlayStation 4 anyway. So I was just happy to get a sequel personally for Gravity Rush, but yeah, it just kind of sucks because but the writing was on the wall. There were multiple people leaving before this sort of got announced, but oh well, we still get Astrobot apparently. Yeah. So
well, Astrobot will be pushed over to PlayStation Studio, so that's no surprise in itself. So we'll see what happens there anyway.
I just feel like it's I'm a bit worried about just the diversity of games coming from PlayStation Studios. Like, obviously the second party games, and they're going to keep coming out as time goes on, and depending on what partnerships Sony makes. But sort of like a lot of these other games, like they're fantastic, but they are sort of in the same. They are going for a similar thing where it's like a big epic story, whether it's in a real-ish world like The Last of Us, or if it's a bit more of a fantasy world like God of War. But they're all sort of like, moving in a similar direction. Whereas I feel like at Japan Studio, they really did try some things that were a bit more different and coming from a different culture.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And that's what really makes it sad. It's just that Japan Studio really had some great visions behind their titles, but yeah, I'm like it really is confounding that Sony have decided, oh, you know what, it's not needed anymore because financially it's just, I don't know. There's something about that just I can't believe. But
yeah,
I mean,
it's a weird. It is a weird decision. Like,
yeah,
PlayStation's going like the best they've ever gone, and it's just it's disappointing. Obviously, they're just looking at the numbers and be like, well, they're not performing $1 million hits like these, so we'd rather put our resources elsewhere. And I guess that's the business, and that's how it works. But yeah.
Oh well. The next one comes by way of Semi Barker over at Push Square, who says it's a month of free PS4 to PS5 upgrades. Lots to look forward to. While the slate of brand new PlayStation 5 releases does admittedly look a little like next-gen early adopters, have tons to look forward to this month, as publishers load up on free PS4 to PS5 upgrades. The shiny new releases start 2nd of March with Yakuza Like a Dragon, which was seemingly postponed on Sony's new console due to marketing arrangements, but it'll be followed on March 4th by Mortal Shell Enhanced Edition. Then on the 12th of March, as we covered before, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, will get its anticipated PS5 makeover. Some may argue it's about time. And that's a part...
That's a good one.
That's part of an Activision 1-2 punch with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 due out on the 26th of March, although it's worth noting that you will need a pod out for an upgrade to the Deluxe Edition if you don't own it already in order to be eligible for a free next-gen copy. That's interesting. Okay. Sandwiching the aforementioned will be Marvel's Avengers on the 18th of March, which is getting its PS5 port alongside a big Hawkeye expansion pack. So in total, 5 games are getting re-released this month, alongside Tony Hawk's re-release as well. Okay. I'm going to just call it as it is. Don't care about Marvel's Avengers. I think the game's still shit. It doesn't matter if it's getting an upgrade or not.
Yeah,
it just is. Like I cannot forgive it how that game had an opportunity after opportunity to kind of flesh itself out and polish whatever turd it became, but it just didn't. It couldn't do it. The 3 games out of that list. So basically, it's 3 out of 5. Yakuza Like a Dragon, because it was specifically designed for next generation systems. I believe. Like, I've already heard good things about it anyway, so I'm glad that's out on PS5 natively. But obviously, it'll get an upgrade for owners as well. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Awesome. Great game. One of my favorites from last year. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Awesome. People love it. So, okay, cool. We're getting upgrades. This is fine. It's something we've been promised for a while, but I still don't think that, I do not understand why they even bother with Marvel Avengers. I think the game they lost out on that game. They lost so much money making that game that they had to recoup funds through Final Fantasy VII Remake's release. Why even invest?
Yeah, well, I guess they're sort of in that deep at the moment, so they're like, all right, let's try and turn this around, but, to turn around something like that and a game of that nature, you really do need something special, and, I'm not going to go back to it. No. I'm not going to go into it for the first time, sorry, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. There's too much to play, there's too much sort of competing for our attention, whether it's single player or multiplayer, so, no, but... The stuff that interests me is just like the Activision stuff. I think Crash Bandicoot running in more frames, more high definition, all that type of stuff. That'll be fun. The adaptive triggers stuff. It doesn't interest me that much. I think that's a feature that I'm kind of like
it's a gimmick.
Shrug my shoulders on.
Yeah,
it actually annoys me more than it actually just makes me go, oh, like as I'm like moving my finger, I'm like, this is just making it harder to push. I don't really get it. And it was something I was excited for when they were doing the whole marketing spiel. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. But when it comes to like shooting a gun on that, I'm like, this is just annoying.
I don't mind it, but I do mind the fact that like I did think about it when they were talking about it a couple of weeks ago with the features that basically where they said, oh, because of the adaptive triggers and how long the controller will last, it'll only last you like 400 hours, and I was like, what? So hold on a second, 400 hours each. So if I need to buy a controller every 400 hours, it's going to cost me a lot to play this bloody console. So I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just the wear and tear and stuff on it. That's
exactly
a bit much. Yeah.
The second last article of the night comes by way of Shannon at Rep Press Start, who says a new Elden Ring trailer has leaked. I saw a tweet from Special Ed over at the Xbox Era podcast. He tweeted out last night, like about an 8-second clip of a potato phone, basically, but an actual trailer has now leaked. So Shannon goes on. Gamers have been waiting for absolutely anything from Elden Ring since the game was announced almost 2 years ago at E3 2019, and it looks like the leak has beaten Bandai Namco to the punch. Whispers started last week that we'd get a new look at Elden Ring in March before a trailer that was presumably meant to debut at some point this month started leaking onto YouTube overnight. So far, there's 3 little bits of the trailer on YouTube, and people have cleverly used AI to make the quality better. Clearly, this isn't really how this trailer should be viewed, and it doesn't look to be the whole thing. So it's still exciting to know that we're close to getting new footage and information for the game. In the trailer, we get to see larger areas, big boss battles, as well as some areas with the player on horseback. It was expected that Elden Ring would release in 2021, but it's likely due to the COVID related delays, it'll now come out in 2022. Do you happen to see any of this?
Yeah, so I had a look I wasn't going to have a look, but since I was on this show, I'm like, yeah, I better actually watch this trailer we're going to discuss. So yeah. I did have a look. And I'm not that familiar with Dark Souls and stuff. I did buy Dark Souls 1 on Switch because I'm like, yeah, I would like to give this a go, but never got around to it. I like buying games, not playing games apparently.
Yeah.
But this looks like a pretty wicked looking 3D action game. So I am intrigued if this is going to be one I'm going to be looking out for and see if it's going to be super hard, which I assume it will be. But if it's a bit more forgiving, which it won't be,
no,
I'll be interested.
I'm concerned for it in a way that from some of the footage that I've seen of the trailer, I'm going to pull it up now for people who are watching on video. For some of the trailer that I've seen, and I haven't seen all of this, it looks kind of witchery bare bones. It very much reminds me of an open field Witcher game, but not Witcher in terms of third person. First person be third person. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but there's so much to it. They go it feels very Elder Scrolls, feels very Bloodborne and witchy. Witchery. Anyway,
witchy.
Witchy. I don't know. There's something to it. I hope it's good. I don't know how to feel. I also think maybe a little bit of Zelda in this too, but I'm unsure. My concerns are more along the lines of this is taking way too long to come out.
It was a long time ago we got that announcement at E3, that teaser. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That is a long time, and I guess a lot has happened in between there, though. So there is a bit, there is a bit that's affected that. So fair enough. Give them the benefit of the doubt and the slack there, but it is hard to tell though because this leaked trailer is just someone recording it on their phone as well. It is you can't see exactly what it's going to look like, on your actual screen, but. No. I think those that are excited, I think it's going to look pretty good at the end of the day. But there are definitely some maybe concerns if you're a bit more of a fan of the developer.
Yeah. Drew, the final story is a quick one for the night. This is more just a PSA for anybody out there who has PlayStation Plus, just even a PlayStation. But I'll give the PSA for the PlayStation Plus as well, might as well. But this one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square. First free play-at-home game available now on PS4. So for those who are not familiar with this, PlayStation last year during the height of COVID, launched an initiative called the Play at Home Initiative, where they were giving away a free game every month. And they're bringing it back this year, more along the lines that, we're kind of doing okay in Australia at the moment. We're, if anything, we've kind of overcome that hurdle. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world's still suffering within the pandemic. So there's a lot of lockdowns happening still around the world. PlayStation have got their back again this year and have started off coming out of the gate hot with Ratchet & Clank, which is now free for all PlayStation owners to download. So make sure you jump on your PlayStation right now, head into the PlayStation Store and download your free digital copy of Ratchet & Clank. For PlayStation Plus subscribers, get your copy of Final Fantasy VII. Do not sit on that. Like, seriously. Like I said before, Game of the Year worthy contender there. That game needs to be played. You have no excuse now. Get Final Fantasy VII while you're at it as well. And the other games as well, like the Marquette and all that other games. I don't even know. But Final Fantasy VII is free. And so is Ratchet and Clank. They're definitely both worthy of playing.
The Game Review.
All right, Drew, thanks to the kind folk over at Nintendo Australia, our fine friends there. We got to sit down. Well, I got to sit down, actually, because I know that you haven't actually gotten into this yet. I got to sit down and play Bravely Default 2.
Yeah.
Has this been a game that's on your radar at all?
No, it's not.
I know that you're not big into the RPG scene, so...
Yeah, no, I do enjoy the RPGs, but...
not other than Pokemon.
No, I do. I definitely do. But it's just... I didn't finish the original Bravely on 3DS, and I knew like this month, for example, I'm getting married at the end of the month, so I'm like, I don't have time for an 8-hour RPG. Yeah, bit of a surprise there. Thank you. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of time for a big RPG, so I knew that was something I might leave to Bryce or someone for our podcast.
No, fair enough. That's fantastic. Well, first of all, congratulations, fantastic news. You're just dropping bombshells in the middle of a freaking review. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Bravely Default 2. Geez, I'm going to be sending this off to Nintendo. They're going to be watching this like, what the hell? Anyway, Bravely Default 2. Let me just say that a follow-up to, obviously, Bravely Default and Bravely Second. But the thing is, it's not a direct sequel. This is a brand new entry into the entire franchise that has its own story. This is its own lore, its own canon, I should say. Set within the same universe, but its own story to it. Now, I'm going to say this. It is grindy. I'm not going to get into any heavy spoilers. I'm going to leave that for people who want to play the game because it's very narrative driven. Obviously, it's a JRPG, so it's going to have a lot of in-game cinematics or cutscenes, I should say. It's not really cutscenes. It's pretty much what you see on screen right now, which is just kind of like two characters talking with a dialogue box at the bottom. Art style's, I wouldn't say amazing. Art style's great. Art style is great to what it is, but it does have that chibi art that they kind of have brought over from the 3DS version. I was concerned about that because I was like, oh man, we have so many good-looking games right now that are kind of pushing boundaries on the Switch. Bravely Default kind of stuck with the whole 3DS style formula. That kind of was like, okay, why haven't we kind of gone beyond that now? Because this was kind of like this was heralded, like Bravely Default 1 was heralded as one of the best JRPGs for 3DS for its presentation, for its gameplay and everything else. But I feel almost like everything that they've kind of adapted from the original has kind of made headway to Switch with almost very much directly the same formula in terms of gameplay, presentation, even the way that they've kind of got these in-game cutscenes with painted art style behind you. There's pretty much like a still, and then you have the characters, the 3D models on screen that are talking with each other, just conversing with dialogue boxes at the bottom. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that's simple. Voice acting is great though, so that kind of helps you keeps you engaged with every sequence that happens with that. It's a grind. It is a deep grind. So I do appreciate a good grind, a time sink, if anything, when I play JRPGs. I don't like it when it's not hefty or bountiful in terms of when you're playing with that kind of gameplay. I do appreciate that they've kind of done that and kept it to that formula. What I would have loved was, once again, just a little bit more outbound kind of gameplay loop. I just feel like because they have that enclosed map in terms of the way that they've designed Bravely Default and keep the traditional old school JRPG closed sandboxy world map kind of deal, it does make it easy to traverse areas and makes it easier to know where you are. As you can see on the screen, people watching on the screen right now, it just makes it easier to know where you are, and I can understand that. But it very much kind of makes you think, man, I am really playing something that's old in terms of design. I think that if they went with an art style that was kind of similar to a Dragon Quest 11 to be specific, then it would have heightened a little bit more of a excitement, engagement with it as well. But because they've kind of gone that way, it kind of dips a little bit in terms of what I would have loved out of it. But
I guess
go on.
Sorry, it was sort of set up to be like a old-fashioned RPG, which is like a lot of grind and all that. So, and also it's like a game that's not meant to take as long to develop and stuff too. So like a Dragon Quest 11 type of setup would have been like a pretty big task to take on. A bigger task than this game. But I remember when the first game came out and it had like a lot of mechanics in there where you could turn off random encounters and turn on and off a lot of things to sort of make it not so much of just a huge thing and being annoying to traverse from area to area. Does that sort of bring it into this
it does.
second game?
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
So
That's cool.
It keeps it faithful. Like everything is pretty much there. It keeps it faithful. If anything, not much has changed in terms of that either. So if you have played the first two, I guess, Bravely Default and Bravely Second, you will know how to play Bravely Default 2. It's familiar to the devout, basically. I do think, though, that they should have added a little more to it. I can't say specifically because of just story beats and stuff. But I feel like if it was aesthetically upgrade, with the aesthetics upgrade, I believe it would have been beneficial to it. That said, 55 hours it took for me to beat this game.
All right.
So it is, but I'm not talking like, I padded it out with like, basically going from area to area and looking for everything. That was basically me getting it done. You can go back in. There's at least like I can imagine maybe 150 hours worth of gameplay in this if you want to be a completionist and complete the entire game. It has so much in it. It is, and it's a great game. It is so good. It's charming. It's got heart. It has an amazing overture. It has an amazing soundtrack. It has an overarching gameplay loop that I get excited by because what happens is it progressively gets harder. It's not just something that you just land in and, they're going to challenge you off the bat. There are certain moments where they do trap you and there are some enemies there that you're like, oh crap, I'm going to die here. And so you got to be careful sometimes. But the JRPG, like the role-playing turn-based aspect of the entire game is a lot of fun to kind of grind through. Just be careful of some areas, like I said, you'll fall into those traps of stumbling into battle and it's over. But look, man, I think that honestly, I can't wait to give it the written review, or I should say the written review will be live by the time this goes up. I'll probably be writing this tonight after the podcast. It's going to be up there as one of my favorite JRPGs of the year. Definitely has so much. It demonstrates potential, and the thing is, it might have a lack somewhat what it could have done, but for what it's worth, it's incredible. So definitely one of my favorites to come out this year for sure.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Like it's going to be definitely on my wish list for later in the year, because I dare say there will be a bit there where it's like, oh, there's nothing coming to Switch.
Yeah.
I've got 80 hours to fill right now, so...
And they're taking away Super Mario 35, and they're taking away the Super Mario All-Stars collection, so you're going to have to get into something.
Yeah, all I've been doing is playing Mario 35. That's all I've been doing. So all the free time I'll have, you know.
Thank you to the kind folk over at Nintendo who supplied the review code for Bravely Default 2.
Global gaming releases.
All right, Drew, it is time for the dashgamer.com global gaming releases for the next 2 nights. Thanks to the kind folk over at VG247 who provide it every week. Drew, so... there's a Stadia game here. All right, fair enough.
Oh, here we go.
Stadia.
Pixel Junk Raiders.
Yeah, Pixel Junk Raiders. Out on Stadia March 2nd. Maquette, PC, PS4, and PS5. Also free on PlayStation Plus March 2nd. 3 out of 10 on Nintendo Switch March 3rd. Is that its
Metacritic score or what?
I don't know, mate. I tell you what, it was a Taxi Chaos score I gave. So Lovelot, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch, March 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
Revita, I'm sure that's how you say it. Revita, Steam Early Access on PC, March 3rd. Bang on Balls.
Oh, what a game.
Yeah.
Bang on Balls Chronicles, eh?
Yeah, Bang on Balls Chronicles, Steam Early Access PC, March 3rd. Get ready for Betson to kind of jump out of his chair over this one. Harvest Moon, One World on Nintendo Switch, March 5th. He loves his farming sim games.
He doesn't love Harvest Moon. He loves the Story of Seasons.
Oh, he loves Harvest Moon as well for some reason.
Didn't Harvest Moon go bad because it swapped developers because of copyright? Unless this is a remake of an older one. I got no idea.
I don't know. When I see a farming sim game, I think Betson these days, and it's just like, oh, he loves them. So, anyway, Stronghold, Warlords on PC, March 9th. Apex Legends comes out on the Switch. I think this is a physical edition, if I'm correct, on March 9th. Okay. Pascal, I'm not even sure. Is Apex out on Switch yet? No.
No, it comes out like
March 9th.
Early March.
That's March 9th.
So, yeah, it must be March 9th.
So it must be March 9th. Okay, cool. So there you go. Apex. I thought it was already out. There you go.
Nah.
Apex Legends on Nintendo Switch March 9th. Pascal Wager Definitive Edition on PC March 12th. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch March 12th. Mundawn, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch March 16th. Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch March 16th. And that is the global gaming releases for the next 2 weeks, Drew. Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I think my wallet is safe, personally.
Oh my god. Hey, Drew, I gotta give thanks to you and our executive producers for the month. Cat B, Brendan White, Ewan Hosey, and Mr. Drew Agnew for helping us out over on dashgamer.com/Ko-fi. You too can help out the Dash Gamer podcast by going over to dashgamer.com/Ko-fi. Donate as little as $2 a month, and you get to be an executive producer of this very show and Operation PlayStation and every single podcast that dashgamer.com produces. So yeah, head on over to dashgamer.com/Ko-fi. Help us out if you can. We would love you long time for that.
Yeah, definitely recommended. Dash has a fantastic website and content over here, so definitely come on over. I came over and it's really nice here. God.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm glad you did.
I'm stretching my legs. You're not getting rid of me anytime soon, Dash. So.
I'm glad, mate. You're more than welcome to stick around as long as you want. That's for sure. Guys, if you didn't know, this has been the Dash Gamer podcast, our bi-weekly gaming podcast where we get together with the boys and talk about the latest in the world of video games. You can follow Mr. Drew Agnew over on Twitter at iDrewby. You can follow myself on Twitter at DashGamer. Don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on DashGamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. Surely helps us out. Drew, this has been fun.
It has been fun. A very fun first episode for us.
First episode for you. Yeah, we did it. This is awesome.
I'll see you in 6 weeks once I've had my haircut on the same day. Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a lot of fun when you come back in 6 weeks with a fresh new haircut. I forgot the outro to the show last episode with Betson. Then I went back and I listened to the last episode of the year previous. Now I remember it. Actually, sorry, I should say I listened to the episode a year ago from this week, and then I remembered it. It was, take care, stay safe, and wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands because of a pandemic. So, wash your hands, please. Wash your hands. Keep your hands clean. Yeah.
Wash those dirty hands. Goodness gracious. Put some soap on them, you heathen. Come on.
DashGamer.com